For me, it really comes down to the investment that we've made in the technology. So, if I look at our products that we've, got a large number of our customers on at the moment, or any of those companies that you've just mentioned a minute ago, typically you're looking at technology that's been around for 5, 10 years, maybe even longer than that, which is great. It's well established, it's mature, and there's nothing wrong with that. It works well. But I think to deliver great experiences going forward, you actually need to rebuild from the ground up, taking advantage of some of the latest technology that's out there. So as I said, for instance, it's all built on the back of the Google Cloud infrastructure, allowing us to deliver 99.95% guaranteed uptime, point in time recovery. So not just a backup that was yesterday at 6 p.m. and taken off site and put in someone's safe at home, and all the sorts of things that probably were going on until not that long ago, I would have thought. The fact that the product is built on API, allowing for that much deeper integration, but because it was built from the ground up, allowing us to design it using fabulous designers that we have in-house, that we brought in specifically as well for these sorts of projects, to put things where they should go, not where they have to go. So it's all around less clicks, using the right color scheme that's easier on the eyes, putting things on dashboards. So rather than having to report it and have complicated tools, just make it easily presentable, being able to click through the product and it all makes sense. And some of the feedback we've had from our early adopters is it's just been so easy to use that we haven't had to have any training. Because if you understand an MIS, you should just be able to log in and find your way around. Which then brings me on to something else that I think we can really make strides in as an organization, or frankly a sector as a whole, and that is around training consultancy. Typically it's done, you go on site, you deliver some training, and that's great, and a lot of people like that, and that should be an option that's there. But for me, training should be accessible and available at the time that suits me. So we've got some really neat ideas around delivering training in a digital way that maybe people could get accredited for potentially, but they can put themselves through courses using all sorts of video content and interactive tools and assessments, and just do that at a time and a place that suits them. We could then look at rounding that circle to maybe give some rewards, for instance, for anybody that's put themselves through it. And that's then all alongside your traditional training and your consultancy that might be there as best practice. But sometimes people don't just want to sit there for a day or half a day and have some training that can be quite hard going. They want to do it at a time and a place that suits them. So I think that's interesting, but it's the technology that underpins the product, I think, is key. I mean, we're all going to offer similar functionality in terms of, there's only really a few ways that you can take attendance, and, a people record is a people record. Yes, there's different things and unique things within it, but the user experience that you can give, the resilience of the platform. So things like, how often are they being penetration tested? How secure is your data when it's all in the cloud? What happens if you do have a disaster? What's your disaster recovery process? When are you going to get that back up and running? You need to know that you've got the very best proposition behind you, because you're running a school, right? With parents paying a lot of money for the children to be there, it needs to be secure. And then, as I briefly mentioned earlier, around the insight. So by having that platform, bringing it into that cloud native environment, what can you then start to do with some anonymized aggregated data to start to give some proactive insight potentially to schools and key users that might produce better outcomes for the students. So I think those are the key differences as far as I'm concerned anyhow.